Well, hello and welcome to the Terri Cole Show. I am your host, Terri Cole, and I am so happy that you are hanging out with me today. So, I want to start this episode with a question. If you have a bad interaction at work, or a fight with your partner, or a fight with a family member, do you think about it and sort of relive it over and over again? Do you ever think, oh, I wish I had said this, I wish I hadn't said that? If I had done this, it wouldn't have happened. But really, you're reliving that experience. Anybody? Well, if you are nodding your head yes, first of all, you're not alone. Very, very human to do it. But second of all, you're in luck because that's exactly what I am going to be covering in this episode of the Terri Cole Show, which is 3 steps to replace rumination with self-reflection. So let's just start by establishing what are these two experiences. When you have ruminating thoughts, like I was describing, you are excessively going over. It's like this circular thought pattern about negative or painful experiences that have already happened in your life. It's like reliving the breakup conversation over and over, whether you were the person who initiated it or not. It's the going over it again, feeling those feelings again, even longing to have done something different, to have made a different choice, but it's reliving. And rumination has a compulsive quality, even an obsessive quality, where sometimes you really can't stop this. It's like you're having these intrusive memories. You're thinking about it in a way that you actually can't stop your mind. Now, in contrast to that, let's talk about what emotional or mental self-reflection actually is. This is going over something that happened that was painful, but doing it with a purpose. So, with a purpose means you would like to learn something, right? If you think about rumination, you can think about it, visualize it like smashing your head against a brick wall over and over. It keeps the pain going from past painful experiences and even amplifies that pain. So there's really nothing productive about doing that at all. Now, of course, you can consciously know that, and what we will do in this, I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can take to start shifting if you find that you are a ruminator to be more of a self-reflector. When you think about self-reflection, you are seeking information. You want to change something. It is purpose oriented, right? It is goal oriented. If you process your experiences with purpose, you have a goal of gaining insight, learning, and ultimately improving yourself. Or what is more important to me is having a deeper understanding of yourself and then having choices. You don't have to make that same choice that you made. You can learn something different and you can learn something about yourself. But you got to stay awake, right? We need to be awake in life. We can't be on autopilot if we're going to make these changes. It's amazing that as humans, we have this capacity to self-reflect. You know, Deepak Chopra, years ago, when I first started training with him, learning from him, he talked about becoming the observer of your thoughts without judgment. And that if you could get to that point, in his estimation, that was the highest level of sort of self-evolution, where you can literally, it's like looking at yourself from this third person perspective. Becoming the observer means it's almost like you are replaying what happened, recapitulating what happened, with the expressed desire to have a deeper understanding of it and why you responded or reacted the way you did. If you can do this without judgment, though, and that means without reliving the argument or whatever the thing is, that means not saying, wow, I can't believe what a dick Bob is. Look at, he was so hostile in that exchange. Or, I can't believe what an idiot I am. I should have said something, but I didn't. That is not what Deepak was talking about. He's talking about observing to gather valuable data that will give you the power to change these repeated patterns that actually just cause pain in your life and don't help. I find that with my therapy clients over the past couple of decades that ruminating is something, the circular thought pattern, that can be incredibly painful. And it's not just, if it just didn't solve your problems, that would be one thing. And it wouldn't be great, but it wouldn't be awful. But ruminating, actually, and there's been studies that have been done, it actually makes you more negative in the rest of your life. It can lend itself towards depression. It can create more feelings of insecurity. It actually does something. It's in life, right? It's bad enough for us to have these painful experiences once. And yet, if we flip the perspective and see it as something like, okay, well, I'm in life school. I'm going to learn something from this experience. That is actually my goal. Then when you go over it in your mind, you do it as the observer, as a third party, as opposed to reliving it. So there was a study done that actually took the people who were more when they were ruminating, they were reliving the experience. So that means they were thinking about it from the first person, as opposed to having some distance. That those folks had more depression, pain, and an overall more negative outlook on life. The folks who were able to step back a bit and do what Deepak had said, really become the observer and do it with the express purpose of understanding, like, hey, what happened here? What was the breakdown here? Why did I make that choice? Let me look without judgment. Let me relive it, but it's as if you're watching a movie of the event so that you can really be coming from your observational mind as opposed to re-experiencing humiliation, embarrassment, shame, all of those feelings that we do not want to amplify and actually definitely get in the way of our ability to problem solve. So if you stay in the rumination place, what I was started to say before with my clients is that I could see the clients who ruminated the most. It becomes such a comfortable groove that this self-flagellation, this like using the mistake as a big bat to bash yourself in the head with, there's comfort in the familiar. But it's not productive. And now we know it's more than not productive. It's actually bad for you. So we've got to step outside of the comfort zone and move into doing something new. If you can step outside of your comfort zone, and of course you can, you expand your tolerance for these types of feelings. There has to be an acceptance that you're a human being. We're all human beings. You're going to make mistakes in life. But if you have this very punitive superego, let's say, that just can't stop talking about the mistakes you made and making you feel terrible about them, that is, worse than not being productive. But it's also incredibly exhausting, and it's a drag to be around, because a lot of times, and I would notice this with my clients and of course people in my life, that as the person is reliving the bad experience and emphasizing how awful they are and how terrible and how stupid and whatever, in a way, what we're doing, if we're doing that in conversation with other people, is there is sort of a burden that can be placed on the other person where they feel compelled to be like, well, I wouldn't say you were an idiot because of that, And listen, with your close people, sure, you can have moments like this, of course. That's also a part of being human. But what we really want to distinguish is this a pattern in your life? Are you suffering from the amount of mental rumination, circular thought patterns that you are experiencing and indulging in? And now let's move into, if the answer is yes, you are in pain because of this, what can you do to change it up? So I just have 3 simple things to sort of get you started on that path, starting with taking an inventory of what circumstances or situations in your life tend to kick up rumination the most. So in the downloadable guide that I created for you, and to get it, all you have to do is go to terricole.com/279, and everything you need is going to be right there. So you want to start with kind of figuring out, are you more vulnerable to this behavior, to this thought pattern in your personal relationships? Is it more a work thing where it happens? Is it with friendships? Is it in the dating scene? So that you can start to, narrow down where to focus your attention. Like, where is your attention needed the most? So you'll take a little inventory. I'll give you a couple of questions for that. And then the next thing is, when you start to ruminate, you have to be mindful enough to know that you're doing it. So how do you know that you're doing it? Well, your body will always give you clues. If you're dialed in enough to the wisdom of your body, you'll know. Sometimes it creates a constriction in your chest when you start to ruminate, like reliving painful things you regret. You might have heat flush your face. You might feel a constriction in your throat. You might feel a sense of dread, like a heaviness on your chest. So you want to be dialed into the physical aspects of the beginning of this process when you're starting to go, because we want to interrupt that pattern. So the moment that you go, okay, I've been thinking about this for the last 10 minutes in the same exact way, no problem solving, I'm not the observer, I'm literally reliving the experience. Then you're going to take action, and I'm going to ask you to journal out your thoughts. You can journal out, first do a mind dump, where you're just journaling out all the negative stuff that's happening in your mind. Just no editing, very much like the morning pages, right? In the artist's way. I know many of you have done that, even though I think it came out in 1980 something. It's a book by Julia Cameron. And one of a very popular exercise in that book was morning pages, where you wake up, you do 3 pages of unedited mind dumping so that you can start the day with a clean emotional and mental palette, basically. So I want you to think of it that way. So instead of continuing ruminating, you're going to move into journaling all the crap that you're thinking, and then journaling what is the solution? What are some steps? And it doesn't have to be the solution, right? Because problem solving takes time. How can you think about it differently? When you step back, right? And the last thing is really to remember that when you are experiencing this in the first person, when it's literally like it's happening over and over again, then you know you are not reflecting, you are ruminating, which is the thing we do not want to do. So mindfully, in your mind's eye, but mindfully choose. If you're going to replay that interaction with Bob at the office that really upset you, you're going to look at it, watch it like it is a movie. See yourself, see Bob, see the interaction. Look at it with the expressed desire to understand yourself, your own reaction. Then you can write about, if this were to happen again with Bob in the office, what would I do differently? How would I approach it differently? Would I have ended the conversation sooner? Would I have been less defensive? Would I have been less accusatory? Would I have, right? There's a whole endless array of things that we can do that we would regret less than some of the things we have done in our lives. And this is, you got to go from the point of view of good, better, best. We are not robots. We are not computers. It's not just like fixing a bug, because that's not the way psychology and emotional health, that isn't the way it works. And making changes to your mindset, an ingrained mindset like rumination, absolutely will require your attention and your intention, but I promise you, you can do it. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Terri Cole Show. If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure to click the bell so that you subscribe. You don't miss a thing. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Why not? Why not? If you're listening to the podcast version of this and you like the show, please make sure you subscribe. And if you really like the show, why don't you go give us a good review on iTunes? I would super duper appreciate that. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Please let me know how this worked for you, if you went through the process. Is it shifting anything? I hang out mostly on Instagram, so drop something in your story. I love that. I usually repost it if I see it in time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, take care of you.